pretty late here. Thank you. This is the Town Hall Building Committee. We are April 10th, 2023, and at 7:37 p.m. We'll do roll call. Say your first name, say your full name, and that you're here, please. Mark?
Mark Cameron here.
Tucker?
Tucker Meehan here.
Carolyn?
Carolyn Coffey here.
Josiah?
Stevenson here.
Phil Lair here. Thank you. We have an agenda and we probably stick with that. We're starting a little bit late because we had some issues with the Zoom link, but we're going now. We're looking for an update on the select board vote. Who wants to review that?
How about you?
Go right ahead, jump in.
No, go ahead. This is you.
Select board invited us on February 28th to do a vote. We had all but one member in front of the select board that evening, and it looked like we were going to get a favorable vote, but at the very last second, the vote was against us, 3-2. So we left the meeting thinking that we did not have any support from any full support from the select board. Got a call from the chairman of the select board, and he invited us back the following week, Tuesday meeting, and informed me that they would have a vote to support to get us on the ballot for the town hall meeting. So we went back to the select board meeting the following Tuesday, which was April 4th, and the vote was 4-1 in favor of getting into the town hall floor, and then the debt exclusion was a 5-0 vote in favor. So we're back.
So what changed? I just don't get this.
I think you'd have to ask them. I don't want to speculate on what was being thought or not thought there. You know, the whole thrust prior to those meetings was that the select board was going to support getting us on the town floor so that the citizens would have a chance to vote for this project and not have the select board just bury it in the operating expenses. So that meant the debt exclusion. But for some reason the vote did not go that way at the first meeting. So
just to clarify, I guess their vote was to put it on the warrant again. It was not a vote whether they supported the project based on the number that we provided to date.
Right.
That was not voted on at all.
They said that they would wait till town meeting and then see what the opinion was of the Capital Budgets Committee and the advisory board, and then they would make their recommendation on the project.
Yes, I believe that's what was said. I don't know if there's been any change or update to that to think that they would vote if we present them with the number on what's that date again?
April 25th.
25th. So I suppose that's a topic we could approach with them so that it could be printed in the warrant there, town meeting floor.
So Mark, even if they do vote on the 25th, the warrant has been sent to the printer today. I think Chris could update it maybe in his motions that it was voted on, but ultimately it's going to come down to town meeting floor, unfortunately.
okay, any other discussion on that? The next item is to review, discuss funding of the funding strategy for the project? Somebody have some idea? I don't know why that's on the agenda. Are we,
Well, does everybody know that we only are getting $1 million from CPC and not 4 million or 6 million or some other number? And that's going to make a big difference, I think, to some people, because now we're going to be asking for $20 million, not 15 or 16 million dollars. And that should be addressed in some fashion.
okay. When is our meeting with the Capitol coming up?
24th.
24. That should be an interesting discussion with them to see how that goes. I know Carolyn, you did a little bit of research about how it would affect different levels of our town, and the finance director had run some numbers as well. But they don't, I think the number reflects an average. It doesn't reflect how it would affect individuals based on the value of their property.
What she did though is she determined based on her calculations, and I'm not sure that there, if there's been any adjustments to this yet, but what people have been working with is that for a $21 million borrowing, for example, it would be 40 cents for every $1,000 valuation assessment of your house. So if your house, you know, for every $1,000, it's 40 cents. And, you know, you can figure out, therefore, you know, if the median house was $990-ish thousand, and that translated to just about a $400 a year payment.
So with that, we had talked about maybe there being a calculator put on the website. Is that something that we can still do?
We'll have to talk to her and just confirm the numbers and all that sort of thing, but ideally.
Okay. And again, it would probably be wise to remind folks that it's the assessed value, not necessarily your
Market value.
market value.
Yeah.
Just
But you can get your assessed value off of the town website.
correct.
Or
Yeah.
your tax bill.
And usually it's a couple, I'm not sure the percentage, but usually it's a little bit lower.
Has anyone seen the modeling for Hingham on their website? The calculator?
No,
No.
I can send you what Norfolk did for their presentation, if I haven't already.
I haven't seen it. I'd like to.
While we're discussing this, just the general funding, Michelle was preparing, we found out today in our meeting, Michelle has like a list of some of the most current projects done in the Commonwealth for government buildings. And she kind of has where it comes in per square footage. And she was saying that, you know, our project is coming in just in line. So she was going to get that for us so that we could, if we wanted to, we can put it on the website. We can certainly bring it to meetings, but we can have that available for the public to see, right? Just because I'm sure there will be a lot of questions about the funding of the project. And I think, you know, I wouldn't have known before I got on this, you know, what the cost per square foot was for a municipal building, because it's so different than residential with all the codes and with the different wage rates that the Commonwealth requires. So that was something that we discovered today that we could get, just so everyone's aware.
And if you don't mind, I can share my screen so you can see how the Hingham calculator works. I think this would be extremely beneficial if it's something that we can pull off.
that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I just pulled it up. So yeah, it's entering the drop down menu.
I mean, you put in a street. And it's all calculated for you.
So this looks really cool. I'll have to talk to Justin to see if he can do it. I wonder how much it will take to do the pulling in. But Michelle, is it easy on the website? Yeah, it is easy on the website just to type in your address and find your assessed value, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Because if worse came to worse, even if we couldn't get this, although I agree this is the alternative, I'm sure it's very easy for us to get a calculator and say, like, put in your assessed value and here's the implication. You know what I mean? Even if we can't get it
Right.
to pull automatically, at least it would be good. You could come in and say, my house is worth $1.2 million and it will shoot out, this will cost you $460 a year or whatever it is. I just made all those numbers up, but I'm sure we could at least get that. But I really like this.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think it would be
it
good.
outlines all the benefits for the override. I mean, their override's significant for many different projects and operational override. So
Has Justin seen that?
I think so. If you think it'll be helpful, I can ask him if he can.
I think it would be great. I mean, I think
I
it
think
would
so
be-
too.
I
Yeah,
think
I
it would
think
be
it's-
the preferred path if we could do this. If not, like Tucker said, if people can just type in their assessed value manually.
I just
But-
think that it looks very user friendly. The layout's much nicer than the way ours is set up now with,
Yeah.
things by title and underlined links, like having a button that shows clearly what it is. I think, and maybe even some verbiage on the opening page to describe it.
I also think it, and I'm sure we all think this, but I really like the idea to put it in perspective for the average person in town, right? So you can kind of quantify what the number means, because the number is gigantic, right? Seeming, if you're one person saying this is the number I'm going to have to pay, but when you break it down, it's like, what is actually the burden on you as a taxpayer? I think it's a really nice platform to see that it's a lot more reasonable or easier to digest. So I think I'm for it.
You got to remember, there are people in $5 million houses that are cheap. And when it looks like their taxes are going to go up $5,000, $100, that makes a difference too.
Yep.
What Phil referred to, Mike Dick asked in the capital budget meeting last week, off the cuff, whether, where the burden would be falling. So I just took the assessor's data and added up, by $100,000 increment, and then basically kind of manipulated the numbers to figure out that, what were my numbers? Those houses that are valued less than $1 million represent about 57% of the total assessed value of the town.
Wow.
They pay about 30% of the tax. And that those valued between 1 and 2 million represent about 35%. These aren't the right numbers, but it's close. 37% of the taxes, 35% of the assessed value. So the $1 to $2 million is pretty even. And then those valued at more than $2 million represent about 10 or 11% of the total value of the tax base, and they pay 33% of the taxes.
Thank you for that.
Now, what about the number of people that are less than $1 million versus the number of people? You mentioned 50%.
54% of the households.
Of the Cohasset households are under $1 million.
Yeah, I think it was a little more than 3,000 households in total. So less than 1 million would be, I think it's 57% actually, but I did this a few different ways and now I can't find my final numbers, sorry.
It's okay. we're getting the ballpark. We can narrow that down. I just think it's good. Good stuff to look at to kind of give us a feel for where the burden lies, and that was a question from capital, so we should address it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking that the 57%,
54,
54%, whatever that number
sorry.
is a group that may just not have the extra money. So that any amount is they're gonna sort of complain about a little bit or a lot. So that we need to give them more of the benefits of this, so that it's so that they're getting more. They sort of appears that they're getting more for their dollars.
Well, I think for everybody, we will have to be doing that. So regardless of what tax bracket
Okay.
they fall in.
I think what we're trying to do here is be as transparent as we possibly can and have people have the ability to go out there and look at how it will affect them individually, and they can decide for themselves if it's a project that's worth it. And then it is up to us on public relations to educate the people with the benefits of this whole project. And there certainly are significant benefits. So the numbers are something we want out there, and we'll get out there. So thank you. Next thing I have on here is the public relations update. We had, I guess, a great meeting this afternoon. Want to hear about that? Who wants to talk about that?
I'll do it. We did, Justin and Michelle and Tucker and Garrett and David Frog and I got together at town hall and just talked about the messaging and the different ways of delivering that message, and tried to make a plan to start things going. We need to create a couple of videos. The first one, conditions as is. The second one, why doing this project makes sense. And that may involve just, interviews with you guys or snippets that we put together. And then, and David's going to be working with Justin on those. We talked about updating the website, getting things that are outdated off of it, making it more user-friendly. And just trying to get as much information as we can that is current. And then we talked about doing a postcard mailer to direct people to that website with the information, as well as offer them the opportunity to come to a public forum on Thursday, April 27th. And we would hold that forum in town hall in person, and potentially be able to give people tours if they wanted to see the physical plant, and talk about why this project needs to be done and why this project is the best answer of those that were explored.
Awesome. Good. Tucker, did you want to add to that?
No, I just a thought here of as part of our outreach and sharing our message. And maybe it's something that on town meeting floor, if we could reach out to folks that are not on this committee to maybe speak at town meeting floor. Years ago, and I remember when Steve Gomer chimed in and offered his opinion, having other people's view of this outside of our committee, I think, is tremendously helpful. And I think that, that's that venue, that opportunity there on town meeting floor will be the first spot where we need to get the vote. And I think that having those people in the room that are voting and having them hear from people outside of this committee is important. So maybe we could strategize a list of people that we could reach out to that would be willing to do that.
Yep.
I think that's a really good idea, Mark.
Thanks. Tucker, did you want to add to you were at the meeting this afternoon? You have more
I
thoughts?
was, yeah. Carolyn said most of it, but just for a few updates. Basically, we're just gonna redo the website on what's on there right now. So I'm gonna work with Justin on that. I don't know if you guys remember when we were working with that PR firm a while ago, we were gonna take some stuff down and put some stuff up. So we're gonna get that done in the next day or so, right? So the website is refreshed again. So we'll refresh a few of the documents, take some old ones down, get some new ones up. Carolyn, I believe, called to the put a call in with the architect to get a few new plans. Tell me that's right, Carolyn, right?
Emailed with them, but yes.
Emailed with the architect to get some new plans. So we'll work on getting that the website refreshed again. I know we had tried a few weeks ago, but we kind of switched positions on that. But we'll have that done, and I will, as I work with Justin on this, because I'm running point on the web piece, I will make sure that we try to get the calculator up there in some fashion. The only other thing we didn't talk about, which Carolyn, did you want to talk about the tours now with David or no?
Oh, we just talked about wanting to script out the tours, kind of pick out half a dozen places in the building with notable things to show that, so that we're consistent in our messaging and not just showing, file boxes that are in places that they shouldn't be, but that we're showing, here's our conference, we met today in the conference room with all the IT works in there and the air conditioner blasting to keep the IT works cool enough, but therefore we were also a little chilly in a, fake wood paneled room with a window that doesn't close because the air conditioner drainage tube has to go out the window, all that kind of stuff. So kind of figuring out what, crafting the tour and not just bringing people around, but actually, telling a story when we do it.
And one message I think it's also important to reiterate with folks is, that the historic, and David can correct us here too, the historic building hasn't really undergone a renovation since the 20s.
1928.
1928, yeah.
1928. So, there's a lot of updating there that needs to be done just to bring that building up to snuff. And, we can remind people of the uproar in town when there was that house on the other side of the common. And are we willing and suggesting here as a town that we're going to give up on our historic town hall on the common as a building, as a structure, regardless of the purpose and the use that it'll possess for the years to come? I mean, the structure still needs to be preserved. And the number one component with that is the exterior and the facade, so that we keep the elements out of the building and don't allow the building to deteriorate due to infiltration. So there's no scenario that anyone has ever proposed and provided that really seriously considers taking that town hall structure down to the ground. And it's not something that would be well received in town if we were to take that building down.
And there's no need to. It's structurally sound.
Correct. But
the house across the common was not structurally sound.
Correct. And this needs attention so that our capital, one of our capital items here can be invested in and preserved.
And I think that's a good word. I think those are actually the two best words, Mark: invest and preserve, because to the point you're making, right? The people across the street there, I mean, they really got put through the ringer to make sure that house that was rebuilt looked right? And fit the common. And I think, I don't know if they were happy about it, but I think most people, when it was rebuilt, were fairly happy with what came out and saying this looks in keeping with the theme we're going with down here, right? Like, we have a theme, and when you drive through, you can look at like the annex of the town hall and be like, that is not in with the theme right now, right? It's a little different. So I think, to your point, we should stress that, like, if we're going to hold residents in town, right, the actual taxpayers, to a certain standard of upkeep and aesthetic, I think that the town should also reflect that, right? And I think a lot of people hopefully will resonate with that message because I think it's only fair, right? So I think that's a good thing that we can bring up and we should bring up as we go, because I think we have a really beautiful building, right? I think like the architect's done a great job building this or designing it.
Great, cool. Dave, you were at that meeting as well? You did attend this afternoon?
Yes, I did. The other thing that came out of it that was big was to do a final public hearing on it on the April
27th.
27th, which would be, before the town meeting, and for a number of reasons. Number one, where you're able to mail out to everybody for that meeting and a few of the FAQs and about the project. And then, of course, you'll know what the total financing package is, so it can be addressed to town. But then you can address any questions or final questions there are before town meeting, because with the last hearing that you would have, you have a little bit more time and long form to go over the ins and the outs of the project, where at town meeting, the time constraint, there is a time constraint. So that's a good way to flush out any questions that there are and do that. But as far as everything else, Justin's going to update the website, do, some of the other PR. We'll shoot some more things for a video and then go from there and get it all out. But it's all lining up for that town meeting.
Great, thank you.
One other item, my apologies for, I forget who or what meeting it was mentioned in, but I recall someone mentioning about Cohasset continuously voting these capital items down, these large endeavors, these financial endeavors, and how this would potentially affect the MSBA program. Again, potentially, I think there's no real science there as to if we were or were not to vote to approve the town hall project, how that may be perceived by the MSBA. But someone had mentioned it in one of the meetings that if this gets voted no again, it sort of sends the message to the MSBA that Cohasset isn't looking to invest in their capital into their buildings, and may weigh in on getting accepted into the program if they didn't think we were actually going to vote it through.
Now, won't some people in town say, have you looked at any possible outside funding or funding from the state or the federal government or whatever, for any reason, COVID, whatever? Has anybody looked to, because as a person, I would say, why is the town paying for all of this themselves? What isn't there something that you can get for help? Whether it's a good financing package or whatever.
I think that's a question we would probably have to ask our select board. So maybe one of us could do that. That would probably fall more under their purview and understanding of what resources and programs are out there.
What about other towns of just, calling up Situate or Hingham or Weymouth or something and finding out, have they done things to their town hall or whatever, or other areas. And people say, well, you're just a rich town, you should pay for everything. But
Well, some of the other projects we've been involved in, obviously, CPA money is one of them, but a couple of towns have used ARPA funds that it's limited what you can apply that to, but you can, depending on what you have, apply some of that to some utilities, some broadband type stuff. But it's something, but it's not going to be millions of dollars.
apparently the town of Cohasset received $1.5 million grant from the feds or the state for COVID type of things, but absolutely has no strings attached to it whatsoever. And is just as being used from some people's mind as a slush fund to sort of finance things that maybe we wouldn't ordinarily get. But, you know, there has to be somebody looking over this and seeing if, you know, it would be nice. I mean, if you just put $1 million off of it, you're saving, you know, a huge amount in financing everything else over the course of 20 or 30 years. So, and also we haven't done a job yet of going over the finances in a little bit more detail of the different things that have been uncovered, whether or not it's my comment about not wanting to dig out the parking lot 2 feet down to put in new gravel when the gravel is already there, and other things like that. Those should be credits. And if they're not credits, I've got a problem with it.
Thanks, Wayne. Anything else on the PR?
I was just going to say to that
Yeah.
question, if that question comes up about other programs, there really isn't a state program for town buildings. There is one obviously for schools, which Cohasset applied to. So that makes it difficult. The only kind of state match there is as it was said, was with CPC funds, for what would qualify under that portion of it. That's the only match that there would really be for any state funds. Federal wise, I know years ago we looked into trying to do tax credits and things like that, but it's too involved and it's not going to get us where we need to go, because you'd have to change the ownership of the building and everything like that. So that is out. So yeah, there's really not, other than if you got a federal grant or something, but there really isn't federal grants for town halls, because the main thing is with town buildings is if one town did it, everyone's going to do it. So that's why unless there's a specific program for it, you're not going to see an earmark or something for a town hall or anything like that. Because if one town did it, then all 355 or 356 are going to do it. So CPC statewise is the only match that I know of.
But there's
That said, oh, sorry. That said, there may be preservation fundings or cultural grants and that sort of thing, but we can't apply for them until we know we have a project.
Yeah, there's minor things, like that. But they're not going to be in the millions. I mean, you might be able to get something 10,000 here or 5,000 there for something specific that you're trying to replace, historically or whatever. But frankly, I mean, it's good to look at those, but that's chump change when you're talking about a $20 million project. So, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Dave, for that. Appreciate it. Last thing I have on here is bidding update from Vertex. Do we have something to talk about, Steve?
Yeah, I can give you an update. We did have an addenda that went out on Friday that pushed the trade bids from this afternoon to tomorrow. So we'll get the trade bids will come in at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Correspondence with Commodore. They're looking to get us a draft of the GMP on Friday of this week. Schedule a review session with Vertex and with JRA for either Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and then have the final GMP for Friday the 21st, which would work for your meetings for the following week.
Is there anything you need from us, Steve?
Not at this time, no. Not as far as Commodore or the GMP goes. There's going to be probably an addenda number 5 that will be going out because of some of the issues they found with the foundation and a couple of questions Commodore had, but it does not affect the trade subcontractors. So that will be quick, but they know about it. We had a conference call on it, a week and a half ago or something like that.
Can you give us an update on what's going on there?
As far as the structural goes.
Yes.
Yeah, they did a little bit more investigation. They may want to do some more, although I think the timing is getting tight. But what was assumed and what was actually there was a little bit different. We had the structural engineer on the call also. Commodore had a bunch of photographs. They were sort of doing overlays, and this is really in the area of the annex addition and connection to the town hall and around the area under the stage, and that connection in particular. And the structure was going to go back and look at a few things that we may not have to do in one case, but they may have to do something else that they weren't planning on. So I haven't seen anything back from the structural yet, but I had an email contact with Phil today, and that's imminent at this point to come out.
Okay. That does it for the agenda. Is there anything else we need to, Michelle, any other questions that we need to come up with? Wednesday nights figured out. Anything else beyond that?
So just so I'm clear, so Wednesday night, I'm updating the agenda to be hybrid in person and on Zoom. And as far as next Monday, we're going to cancel that because it's the holiday, and we are going to seek another date later in the week, or you'll reach out to Tracy if you figure that piece out.
Meeting you're away.
I'm away.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Thoughts on a second meeting next week?
Well, I think it'll dictate when we get that draft GMP to review. I think that'll be the fundamental. I mean, we got some structural questions here that are being addressed and answered, and if we're reviewing a draft GMP, those structural questions will have had to have been answered by then. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of information here to go off of right now.
Right. What are you suggesting? We're going to need more time to discuss it in our meeting?
Well, if we're going to add another meeting, it would either be, we already have one for Wednesday, so it'd either be Tuesday or Thursday
Right.
of next week, right? Tuesday's an option, but if we don't have the draft GMP to review on Tuesday, having an additional meeting then isn't going to do us much good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think really should wait until the draft GMP gets reviewed, which is going to be, it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. It's in the process of being scheduled now to find out who's available what day. So, that may be, and they're estimating that's about a 4 to 6 hour review. So people need to have a fair amount of time to look at it. So, I mean, that's, it's going to be JRA, Vertex, Commodore, and potentially maybe some of their subs and engineers.
Do we have something else scheduled for next Wednesday's meeting? Another group? I think it's just us, right? On the 19th.
So would it make sense, instead of you meeting Wednesday, push your meeting that week to Thursday, and you'll have something in hand by Thursday that you can review instead of meeting Wednesday?
Not
And-
that.
As far as the GMP goes?
Yeah.
That they're looking to have that GMP completed, because after the review, they're going to have to, move some numbers around. So they're looking to have that submitted on Friday, the 21st.
Okay, so it won't be ready.
But
Right,
that,
you can certainly talk about what was discussed, and there'll be an idea, but to have something in your hand, it'll be Friday.
So if you have an idea, I just don't want anyone to waste their time. So if you think that everyone would have an idea Thursday, that may be a great day to meet. Not that I want to put a Friday meeting on your calendar, but if Friday afternoon worked for everybody, would you want to meet to see the results? Because you're going to take all these results the following week to capital advisory and the select board.
Yeah, I truthfully, I think we need to see it beforehand. I don't feel comfortable getting it a GMP on a Friday afternoon and taking it and running to the three boards without having any dialogue, chance to revisit things. And it's just,
I think we cannot have 2 or 3 years of work and then come up with a list of things that someone forgot about or didn't think about, or they didn't realize this was going to happen. And I think the part of the connection between the old town hall and the new town hall, you're digging a foundation deeper than what the existing foundation is. And these things have been brought up to people time and time again. I would really be disappointed to say, oh, there's going to be $500,000 extra because we didn't know about this, when this is not a big project and it should be known. So to our consultants, this is something that's really important. And you don't go ahead and take something out that we need so you can pay for something that you missed.
and again, this is why we adamantly said to the select board why we're out of time. We don't have enough time. And how we're getting a GMP and we're going to be expected to run to all the committees. I just,
And to your question, Wayne, that is what they're working on now. That is being addressed.
But it could have been addressed 6 months ago or 12 months ago because it was known then. Why did it take so long?
Well,
Who's
we
responsible?
really just, when did we get Commodore on board? Very recently. In the
Commodore to find where there was. I talked to your partner and I talked about this and he said, oh, don't worry, the contractor will come up with everything that we need to do it. And it's not going to cost anymore. That type of verbiage and stuff just doesn't go very well with me.
So how do we feel as a group? So everyone, it seems like the majority is uncomfortable with getting the GMP on a Friday and going to these boards and committees Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I feel like I'm hearing that pretty clearly.
yeah, because we don't know what we're going with. I mean, we can't.
Isn't
if
there
we
going to be
have-
a draft one though?
Well, I
Can
think,
we
I
not
mean,
start
but
working off the
certainly,
draft?
yeah, we could certainly issue the draft. It's just, you just got to understand that it is a draft that they want to go through in an overall meeting. So, I mean, it's at least something you can look at, Mark.
Right, but to Wayne's point, the concern is that there may be things in there that they see and
But they should have seen.
right. But so here we are, and it's, what do we do? So Monday night you meet with Capital. Anyone up for a Monday afternoon meeting?
Now, by the way, what are you going to tell Capital when they say, what's the bottom line of this project? $21 million? And then you're going to go around, as we're going through this, it's escalating before we even start. I don't think we can do that. Because people in town meeting are saying, is this the final numbers? This is what we're going to pay. I'm just afraid that, we're spending more and more and more money still, and this thing could get pushed right out.
I understand that concern.
We certainly have to wait for the GMP, at least the draft, but we're going to be going in with a draft that may not be the end.
So I have a question, Steve, is to Wayne's point, the GMP that we received, they did take into consideration that foundation issue, correct?
They will be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that-
and I mean, our
That will
overall,
be included in the GMP?
correct.
So when we go to town meeting, the number is the number and that's the number, correct?
And don't forget, we have a GMP and then we're gonna have contingencies and then we're gonna have, you know, obviously the associated soft costs.
Right, so just, I understand where Wayne's concern is. He doesn't want to get up at town meeting and say, here's our number, it's 22 million, and say, that's it. And then the community says, well, wait a minute, you told me it was 22 million. Why is it 24 million now? I thought the GMP was the maximum. So is that still accurate that we're going
Well-
to go to town meeting with that?
You're gonna go
Price?
to town meeting with a guaranteed maximum price from the contract or from the construction manager. And but there's gonna be contingencies in the budget because there could be something that we uncover that no one has seen. And that, you know, that is a change order. I mean, you can't hold them responsible for everything that's in the building that's an unknown.
But what I
If
think,
it's a
Wayne,
latent, if it's a latent condition.
They have
But I think-
every opportunity to do the research they need to know what's in those walls and things like that. And we've gone ahead and we've done core borings that they may or may not even looked at over the years that they'll tell us if we have ledge or we don't have ledge under the foundation. So if someone comes in and says, oh, guess what? We found that half the foundation has ledge in it because we went down 3 feet more than the old foundation. That's going to be real bull. Because you have the capability to know what it is. They went ahead and dug some holes to see if there was gravel under the parking lot. There were already holes that were dug that they could have looked at information. So.
Well, I'm pretty sure our designers have looked at all the information that was from the past also, because it's all been available to them.
But did they do anything new on their own? Question. Not enough? Maybe, yes, no. You're not a mind reader, so you don't know what the structural engineer or the other different engineers are doing in terms of how good are they? And I hate it if you got to put a 10% contingency in every single time and everybody uses the 10% and then more. So I'm just disappointed that we're not going to have the answers to everything that has been brought up in the past. That's all. I'm sorry I'm a little emotional, but it's just, I deal with this a lot. And next.
Thanks, Wayne. Okay, so what are we doing next week? Back to the meeting date?
I don't know if it's even worth you having them. It's not worth it. I'm just saying what's going to be discussed at this meeting. I mean, you can do PR updates.
Mhm.
we got to figure out the GMP thing because we can't get the GMP on a Friday afternoon and then go to all the committees Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Because we're going to have Tuesday and Wednesday don't matter at all because it's the same information that's on Monday. So we have to be
You
ready.
want
for
me to see if I can get the GMP final from them by the end of the day on Thursday? So that We have Friday? I
so-
mean, that gives a day. I
so-
mean, it's still a tight time frame for anybody
So
to
how,
look at.
explain to us how the process of them coming up with the quote unquote final GMP. I mean, who's gonna be part of that final GMP meeting?
Gonna be Commodore, Vertex, JRA's consultants, and potentially some of Commodore's consultants.
So nobody from this committee, and then when they say that there's gonna be $1 million allowance for structural concerns under the foundation, we went from 21 to 22 million. Just hypothetically speaking.
Well, so maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I think both Steve and John are there on our behalf and will, correct?
Correct?
So you're there on our behalf and you're gonna, discuss these things and make sure that we are protected.
Correct.
So you are our representative, unless someone here
I mean, Mark, we can certainly, or the committee.
No, but I think-
When
I
the
think-
time gets established for the meeting, we can certainly let you know if you want to sit in and listen to
No, but I think.
some
to
of it or
Wayne's
the end of
point-
it or something.
To Wayne's point, Wayne has been flagging this issue at the connection of the foundation for a while now. And it seems to here in late, information's evolving here late in the game here. And we're running out of time to address it. So how is it going to be addressed? Is it just gonna be addressed with dollars in the budget? That, or are we gonna have, we've lost the opportunity because of time to now really dig into the issue and come up with alternate solutions and alternate paths. It feels like at this point, the only option is just more money.
Well, based on what I observed during the conversation with the structural engineer, I don't think there wasn't a lot of options of what they could do based on where it is and access to it anyways. I don't think there's, it's not like it's on the outside of the building and you can maybe have a couple different ways of addressing things. And obviously it has to be done, per code, per structural loads. So, and they obviously understand that there's a budget entailed with it too. So there's something that they had that does not have to be done any longer. That comes off the table, but other things will have to be addressed. And without having that final design, I can't tell you exactly what it is yet.
Right. But John said to me 6 months ago, he said, oh, when I brought this up, I brought it up several times over the last 24 months.
Several.
That they're going to wait until the job is bid. And then they're going to have, and Mark will say Mark knows this, that we're going to have the contractor go ahead and figure out how to do it. And they're going to present to us the plan of how they're going to solve this issue between the two foundations. And I shake my head then, but isn't that right? Pretty much, Mark, that it's gonna be resolved after the project starts, was what was presented to me anyway. And I'm saying to myself, you're giving someone a blank check.
I mean, in all fairness here, we don't even accurately understand what the problem is.
Well, the problem, there has to be an issue.
But we
Down
have
deeper than
not
an
been
existing foundation.
communicated the problem.
And
How
you
can
don't-
we then understand that there's an actual, what the solution is, if we haven't been appropriately described what the problem is?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the issue is. I just know there's a structural issue with the foundation, and I perceive that it's isolated to the connection point.
The best thing I can do is I'll have the architect and the structural engineer issue a narrative to explain exactly what, because I don't want to give you incorrect information.
Understood and
So I
appreciate that,
will
but
have them do it because they are the professionals. They're the design professionals that are working on it. And I will have them give you an update that you can read, and maybe with the sketch with it, because they can pull some snapshots off of the structural drawings and get that issued so you can at least review as to what the issue is. And hopefully maybe they can give us a progress update on their design solution. And it's being done by the designer, not the contractor.
So something that has been asked, and I don't even know if this is the forum to ask this question in, but when we talk about structural integrity of the building, it has been asked if in fact you were to remove the annex and just renovate historic town hall, is it still a structural issue, or does it have more to do with connecting the two buildings?
I comment that the way it is now is all holding, okay? I mean, it was done. I didn't see any, cracks or anything like that. It's just a matter of you're going to be changing what it is you have today because you're demoing, right on the plans, you're demoing the wall that connects the old town hall and the new town hall. How do you go ahead and demo that with probably hammers and everything else and hold up what's now going to be a big open area? This is the deal. And so if you don't have structural things put in place to support the existing town hall, how are you going to add this new foundation to it? And the new foundation, like I said, may very well be lower than the granite blocks that support the town hall today.
And to Wayne's point, what the design team is finding out is not due to a sub-grade condition that we didn't expect. It's the design, it's the completion of the design of those two components, the new and the old building. And they need to finish that. And as they're finishing and as we're getting closer to the finish line, there's word that now we need piles of some sort.
Whatever we need.
Well, I believe
which again,
the pile issue has gone away.
Which should have been part of the design, because any work that needed to figure out existing conditions should have been done so that the design could have been completed.
Okay, and that's what they're in the process of doing right now. They've done the
I
investigation.
understand that, but we're 3 weeks away from town meeting. They should have the design. That's part of the design.
Mhm.
If we haven't.
That's the 10% that's missing, I guess.
And it's a problem, but you know what,
Everything
all
is
they
slow.
can do is address it now. We can't rewind. So it sounds like a bummer, but
you can't make it an extra where it goes time and material to a subcontractor to do that as an addition with a blank check. Just can't do that. And it's not going to,
We're not planning on doing that.
And what if it's $1 million? The price of the project is just $1 million, or you rethink the foundation completely? Steve?
You're asking me a what if. I'm not working in what ifs. I want to work with what the design is when the design comes out.
Okay. You can go on.
All right, so here I go again, asking about next week.
Oh, just
So.
common sense, not that common.
So, all right, next week, we have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday. It doesn't seem as if we're going to have the information we need Wednesday to have a productive meeting. However, I want everyone to keep in mind that the schedule we just made up today is capital budget Monday, select board Tuesday, advisory Wednesday, public forum Thursday. And then we're out of time. So what we could potentially ask is the capital budget and advisory have a joint meeting on the following Wednesday. I don't know if they would agree to that. I don't know what else is on advisory's agenda. But it's not uncommon for the two of them to have a joint meeting, especially when talking about town meeting projects.
Hmm.
That would give you a little more time to digest, at least until Tuesday before you go to the select board.
Could we get a copy of the draft GMP by the end of this week? Is that what we,
We're supposed to be getting it by the close of business on Friday. We can issue that as a draft for you to look at.
okay, so we can get it on Friday, so then we could meet on Tuesday and or Wednesday of next week to go through that?
Well, the CM and the designer and the engineers are doing that Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Sometime during
So-
the day. And I believe Phil said I think Wednesday was better for him than Tuesday, but I have to look back at the email.
So why don't we review it that,
Thursday.
why don't we review it what we could review it Wednesday night. We don't need to, I mean, we can see the comments that were made during the day. And then we can weigh in on those comments so that when it gets cleaned up, it should be able to be cleaned up and distributed on by end of day Thursday.
Okay, got that. Yeah. Well, that's what we can ask them to do.
So we will be able to see the comments on the review.
So are you suggesting, Mark, that we meet, that you guys meet on Wednesday and that we meet as a board on Thursday?
No, I'm suggesting that the design team, Vertex and Commodore meet during the day on either Tuesday and or Wednesday, depending on what they need to get through that. And then Wednesday night in our meeting, we review the GMP as well. We will have had the draft in our hand on this Friday, the 14th. And when we review it on Wednesday, the 19th, we'll be able to see the comments that were made by JRA and the design team, Vertex and Commodore. They'll be essentially redlined, they'll be marked up. It won't be cleaned up. And then I would say those cleaned up notations would be able to be formalized and wrapped up on the 20th and redistributed to us on the 20th or the 21st. And then our road show would resume.
Do you think you need time Monday prior to going to Capitol to reconvene as a group to discuss what you're presenting?
I really think between Wednesday, we really got to have it sorted out. I mean, if we feel that, we want to schedule it Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, just so we're covered in case we don't get all the way through it or there's additional comments. But I mean, we don't have time. There's no time to go back and forth on this thing. We've been backed into a corner.
So it sounds like we keep our meeting next Wednesday. We'll do a PR update, and if we have a draft,
I think we should do the,
we'll have something to go over.
I think we got to do the PR separate from that, because I think once we get the information for the GMP, I think we got to really just just focus on that and not go through the other stuff. I think the other stuff that is not follow the deadline of the GMP should be done separately. And have that meeting focus on that, because I think the GMP conversation is going to consume a pretty significant amount of time.
So Mark, I just, food for thought. We're up against the same timeline for everything, PR, the GMP. So I don't want to push one thing aside for another, even though I understand the importance of the GMP, but maybe
Well,
it's just,
Monday's the holiday, so we could do PR Tuesday if we needed to, because we won't have the comments from the JRA, Vertex, Commodore GMP review on Tuesday, the 18th. So
Does the GMP discussion, is that something that the whole committee should be involved in?
You mean the one during the day with the CM?
No, I mean, you know,
After that review, yeah.
yeah. Yes, Michelle?
I think it's important for the whole committee to understand where the project,
Okay,
even more so if you're going to be talking about GMP and PR, they're going to be intertwined at some point. But maybe
So-
just the opposite, maybe the PR group doesn't have to meet with the entire committee and can continue just working that angle. And then just giving a quick update maybe during the Wednesday meeting, and you can focus primarily on the GMP.
I think that's fine. Yep. Yep, just like you did today. We do that? Sound good? Mark, you good with that?
Mhm.
Good. Cool. Okay, any other questions with the schedule?
so what did are we keeping the Wednesday meeting then? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna cancel Monday, keep Wednesday.
And are
And
you
then-
adding Thursday?
I don't think we're adding Thursday. I think,
Why don't
And
you
if-
post for Thursday? It can always be canceled.
okay, I can do that. That's a good idea. I'll post for Thursday. But I'd also say Monday, I think we should meet prior to going to Capitol to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Are you allowed to meet as a group on a holiday?
No, she means a week from Monday.
A week from Monday.
Oh, okay.
You're meeting with Capitol at 7. Maybe you can regroup at 6.
Is it at 7? Capitol's been meeting at 5 PM.
We posted for 7.
Okay.
Okay,
Any,
so at this point,
thoughts?
keeping our Wednesday meeting, we're gonna have PR do the separate meeting like they did today, and they'll do a quick update for us on Wednesday night, and we'll have some the draft of the GMP, if I'm saying that correctly, to review on Wednesday night. And that'll take up most of the discussion, I would assume.
Michelle, why don't you post for 6 o'clock on Monday, the 24th? We can always cancel it.
So I'll post for Thursday and Monday earlier and
And, you know, we'll see how we're feeling and whether we think we need, it's hard for us to know, I think, right now. Whether that would add any value. Sometimes extending a long meeting just makes you bleary eyed and it won't necessarily help us, but it may be that we need to strategize a little bit, so.
okay.
So you're saying a 6 o'clock meeting on the 24th?
Yes.
And we'll keep separate meetings for advisory and capital, or did we leave that discussion?
Yes, we're keeping the meeting separate.
Okay,
So we posted for 7, but
And the 19th and 20th is going to be at 7, correct?
That's a yes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just waiting to make sure that.
So tomorrow, before I post everything, I'm gonna send out a calendar to make sure that I've hit everything. And we're all on the same page.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
People
Thanks,
should,
Michelle.
people should just make note if they can't attend, because that could put us in a tricky spot, especially with all the number of meetings and the tight timeline. Just want to make sure we have a quorum.
Sure. Thank you, Mark.
And Mark, can you take the lead on getting the information from Steve, on Wednesday night? And then I'd love to,
As long as you don't shoot the messenger.
no, and then we'll share it with you later.
Okay.
Anything
Okay.
else? I will take a motion to adjourn if that's where we're at.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you soon.
Good night.
Thank you.